Welcome to Jasiri. It's the last Monday of February 2025, and as we step into the final week of the month, we're taking a moment to reflect on the biggest stories shaping our world and what lies ahead. From pressing national issues to global developments, February has been filled with conversations that demand our attention. And as we wrap up the month, wait, that sounds so strange. We're wrapping up February 2025 already. I don't know if you guys feel it, but I feel like there's this big countdown, and I don't know where this year is running to already. But anyway, as we wrap up this month, we're making sure nothing goes unnoticed. So what should we be paying attention to? What's next on the horizon? Today, our spotlight falls on Nigeria's 774 local governments, as many have started receiving money directly. We'll get into that conversation shortly.
But first up, let's break the ice of what was the weekend. I'm sure the ladies either had fun or got some rest this weekend. But I won't ask. I want to take us straight into a story that developed after we wrapped last week and has brought a lot of reactions. So, do you remember the name Evans?
Yes!
So, convicted billionaire kidnap kingpin Chukwudumeme Onwuamadike, alias Evans, told the Lagos State High Court that he's now a teacher at a correctional center in Kirikiri after obtaining a teaching diploma in economics, and he's no longer a criminal. Evans said he's prepared to surrender all his property as part of a plea bargain agreement, should the court consider his application on compassionate grounds. This was contained in his application for a plea bargain, where he pledged to forfeit 14 brand new trucks to the Lagos State government for sale, with the proceeds to be transferred to the victims of his criminal activities as part of the proposed plea bargain arrangement.
Now, this is not the first time that Evans has approached a court seeking a plea bargain for his involvement in kidnappings for ransom. On the 30th of January 2025, Evans approached Justice Adenike Koka of the Ikeja High Court to ask for a plea bargain. Evans had 5 criminal cases across various high courts in Lagos State. 2 of these have already resulted in convictions, one of which carries a life sentence, while the other has a 14-year prison term. He expressed remorse for his actions, stating that he had undergone a transformation during his time in Kirikiri. He also pleaded with the Lagos State government for mercy, explaining that without their forgiveness, the federal government's scholarship would be rendered useless. He actually argued that he would be unable to practice the new skills he acquired while incarcerated, which would amount to a waste of government resources. Now, according to the process filed before the court during his time in prison, the federal government offered Evans and other inmates the opportunity to further their education. Evans took up this offer and was granted a scholarship. As a result, he earned a national certificate in education in economics and is now a teacher. Copies of his NCE certificate and project work were submitted as appendices. Now, additionally, Evans was offered admission to the National Open University of Lagos under the federal government scholarship scheme.
Evans and his co-defendants are seeking a plea bargain agreements with the Lagos State government. The 4 men are standing trial on 5 counts bordering on conspiracy, kidnapping, and attempted murder. He was arrested on June 10, 2017, with the trial taking 4.5 years. He was sentenced along with his co-defendants on the 25th of February 2022, with the judge saying that Evans and his co-defendants showed no remorse during the trial and tried to lie their way throughout. One of their victims detailed how he was abducted and his hands and feet were shackled during his 88-day stay in captivity. $2 million was initially demanded for his release before it was reduced to 500,000 euros. He testified that his brother was unable to raise 223,000 euros. He said he escaped from captivity while his captors were asleep, and he alerted the authorities.
So, now this was first of all, it was a long read, and second of all, it's not a bad thing to want to refurbish, recalibrate, read them in prison. But I'm thinking, Kidnapper Evans, who was dealing in millions and extorting in foreign currency, you're now saying that he's willing. You say you are a prison teacher. What are you teaching in prison?
So please, I'm still, this headline in particular is showing us he's willing to forfeit 14 new trucks. Where are the trucks? Why are they new? This guy was convicted. I had to be sure because it was feeling like he's been in jail for such a long time.
Yes.
He was convicted in 2022.
Yeah.
We're in 2025. We're 3 years into your prison sentence, and there are still some cases because, unfortunately, one of the judges retired, and so one of the cases has to be reopened or was restarted again in January 2023. That was the case before Justice Shonaike, who began the case afresh in January 2023 following the retirement of Justice Adedayo Akintoye. And so he has 5 trials, 5 cases across different courts.
Convicted in only 2.
In 2, life sentence 1, 14 years in the other. I'm flabbergasted.
Well, he has a right to come to court.
Of course.
For a plea bargain.
Of course.
But there are so many things. Even upon his conviction, shouldn't all his property have been
forfeited and
should he
given
even
to
have
victims?
a bargaining chip
Exactly.
with something that he got through illicit his criminal activities? Should he even have mouth to come to court and say he's willing to forfeit it? Is it not something that should even be automatic? But everything should be taken from him.
Will we blame him though? This is a country where
Repentance,
bandits, exactly.
That's how a lot of people
Rehabilitation and
feel.
reintegration. While I was reading
Rehabilitation.
that story,
Yeah.
the only thing that kept ringing in my head was rehabilitation and reintegration of bandits who have killed so many people and then have been captured. Like they're guilty and you're rehabilitating them into the society.
It's just
that is his bargaining chip.
Yes, but
This is
do
3
you
years.
know that
Just 3
Evans,
years.
where he was caught, is just opposite my family doctor's
Magodo.
office? No.
Where?
Jakonde Estate in
Oh, but he
Isolo.
had homes in Magodo.
No, he had homes
across
but he
Lagos.
was his operating center.
We still bargain with those ones.
His
Oh, no, he's bargaining with those ones too.
Yeah, his operating center was in Jakonde Estate. This is my family doctor. He's a very good doctor. And this is his house. That means I've gone to that place many
It could have
times.
been you.
It could have- Do you know that Evans has
It
been,
was.
that's a smart man you're looking,
Yeah.
like very crafty, very, it's there, it's just right there in his face. This man has planned himself for longevity. In or out of prison. As he is, he might be looking at ways, if he can still negotiate and plea his way.
And he's still paying
and
his
bargain.
lawyers.
Yeah, his way out of prison, sentencing. That's what. Number 2. It will shock you that this man has a litany of assets that people don't even know.
Yes. No, I'm not
He's
sure.
hidden them. It's under the radar. So
And there are people who are probably operating the assets for him.
Yeah.
When he needs
Yeah.
money, they take care of it.
Exactly.
The money
So
is
you
given.
come and then you're seeking a bargain with, okay, let me just drop
And now
14
with
trucks for
teacher.
them, new trucks, because
What
it's a
is
see
it?
finish.
It's a see finish to the to the Nigerian government and the Nigerian people.
Yeah.
Let's take
But-
some reactions. Let's take some reactions to this story because it's been the case has been adjourned until April, and I know lots of people are interested. Someone asked, is he teaching other people how to kidnap, or which kind of teacher has he become in prison? Criminal self, they shake me out for prison. Next, very good. Let him keep it up and teach his fellow inmates right there
Exactly.
from the walls of the prison.
That's quite...
If they release him, then we all commit crime and become a teacher. Then boom, they release us. Shebi na waiting you, they try explain. I know correct.
Very correct.
I'm getting there.
very correct.
Never. He should serve life imprisonment. And if found guilty of murder of his victims, he should be on death row. They need to set examples of these people. Same with the so-called repentant Boko Haram. Don't tell me they are repented after killing thousands. Take him out. What else do we have? He needs to be rehabilitated and allowed to reincorporate with the society.
Mr. Crusher.
Mr. Crusher.
If terrorists are being released, it's only fair that this individual who has already served his time should also be set free. Correction, he has in
hasn't
fact
served
not
his
served his time. Yes, as Lolo said, he's entitled to approach the court for a plea bargain. Everybody can approach the court. But I also wonder at a society, as Blessings was saying, that is rehabilitating repentant Boko Haram terrorists and then saying that, oh, this is not acceptable. If there is ability for rehabilitation and repentance, it should be across board, across all states, across all crimes. But we also need to look at justice. Yes, whatever religion you follow tells you to forgive, but it doesn't tell you to ignore justice. We can
What are we
forgive,
even
and people
saying?
should still find the consequences of their crimes.
I remember when we had that lady that goes to the prison, and we're
That's
talking,
where
that is even,
rehabilitation
we're
and
talking
that's-
about convicted criminal that should not even be on our table. when there are many people awaiting trial who are languishing in prison for crimes they didn't, probably allegedly did not even commit. So now we're going to be listening to this one try to bargain. And if we're not even careful, it's happened in America many times, where you will see someone, one of the cartel lords will give up a considerable sum of money,
and
they would allow him, they would just extradite him or something to his country or something.
I think that certain cases, yes, plea bargain is possible, but it shouldn't come into effect in certain cases until a certain amount of time. Again, I'm stressing, he was just convicted in 2022. He still has, at this point, 3 cases still outstanding, because I tried to check. 5 cases across courts in Lagos. 2 have 1 conviction for 14 years, another for life imprisonment. Which one is he trying to plea bargain? Are you trying to plea bargain the life imprisonment, or is it the 14 years? And then how do you plea bargain somebody that still has cases?
But even if he's an established teacher, there's a set that
he can teach. Let him be teaching in the prison.
Let him use his new acquired skills.
That are no-brainers. I know that, okay, let the law take its course, let everything, but we all know in the deepest parts of our hearts, we all know sometimes based on, somebody said something in one of the responses, Boko Haram, the people who have killed thousands, if not millions, and then you say you now want to
rehabilitate them.
Some crimes.
If Boko Haram terrorists are available to be rehabilitated, really, at the end of the day, why not
take them out?
Why not evidence?
I mean, listen, what it's called for, it is what it is. Check the gravity. Like I said, let the law take its course, but check the gravity of the crimes that they've committed. If you read this man's rap sheet, Mr. Evans,
you know this Boko Haram thing that we're talking about in Nigeria, you know it's a very sensitive topic, because there's so many, it's shrouded in a lot of secrecy. There have been conspiracy theories that are out of this world. The kinds of things I've heard about Boko Haram and who sponsors them is enough for you to know that
it's not just by what you see.
You can't just use your naked eye to look at Boko Haram and put it in the same.
So my thing is,
the same bag.
Those people sponsoring it should consider the term they call precedent, because if you start something, everybody else will use it as a basis to argue their own freedom. As
but you know, some of them were not convicted.
They laid down their arms and they
laid down their arms. So
the army says there are conditions that they need to have surrendered, they need to have not been caught in certain situations before. But at the end of the day, I think this is, it's an interesting situation we find ourselves in, particularly with such a high-profile case, a number of victims across board. That guy that talked was in captivity for 88 days.
What that means?
88 days.
That he escaped. In fact,
he was not let go. He escaped.
And alerted the authorities. Let's know that while we are bantering on this, we also know that there's a lack of faith in the system. This is real life that we're talking about. It's a lack of faith and trust in the system. Somebody trying to bargain with authorities. Why? Because you feel that, okay, let me just give them something. And that is the perception that we have. That is the reality we face here in Nigeria. Between the authorities and between citizens, there's no trust. Everyone is looking at each other with side eye.
We should take a break.
Yep, let's keep the show moving, guys. After the break, we'll talk local government fundings, direct funding, and citizen accountability. With local governments now receiving allocations directly, will this finally lead to real development at the grassroots level, or will it be business as usual? Joining us to break it all down is policy expert Ayomide Ladipo. Together we'll explore what this shift means for governance and how citizens can ensure these funds are put to good use. Stay with us. This is a conversation you wouldn't want to miss.
Thank you so much for staying with us, having some unfortunate technical difficulties with our guests, which means we're going right back into the Evans story, and that is, of course, regarding the fact that what did you call him? Billionaire kidnap kingpin, also known as Evans, is asking the Lagos State's government, or Lagos State High Court, I beg your pardon, for a plea bargain. He was convicted along with 4 others, I think, in 2022. Has 5 cases. 2 have resulted in convictions, 1 for 14 years and another for life imprisonment. But now he's saying that he has gone to school while he was behind jails in Kirikiri. He has learned a craft and he's now a teacher. And that, in fact, we would be wasting federal government's money if we did not allow him to come out and put the new skills he had learned to use. You know, I said it during the break and I'll say it now. He's very audacious.
Yes.
For someone who was convicted of the type of crimes that he was convicted of, who has a life sentence and a 14-year conviction, who's still facing other courts and other charges, to tell the court and to tell the Nigerian public basically that we're wasting money. It would be a waste of government resources if we did not allow him to plea bargain and then come and put those skills, newly found skills, to use.
I blame the government itself. You know, we were saying it before we went on that break that if you even want to let somebody learn a skill, should we not be learning a skill from someone who has the potential of being out of jail and reintegrated into the society? So should we be giving people on death row certificates,
that's what I'm
degrees?
saying. I think we should look into the fact that, honestly, it's the people who allow him to even, because it's like giving him hope. You would not give false hope to someone you know that is never coming out. So it's giving him more impetus to say, okay, since they've allowed me to, go on this path, now I'm a teacher, it means that there's a possibility of me getting out. And
who will hire him?
I'm just saying, it's
Lagos State government. Are they not the one that gave him the plea bargain? If that plea bargain went through, they rehabilitated him. They should have a system that,
ensures jobs for him.
So
meanwhile, they're leaving out the millions of
people that need rehabilitation. Look at that woman that was on our table, and we were talking about the fact that there's so many people that leave prison and they do not have any rehabilitation, no way forward, no plan for after the prison. What kind of life would they live? Is it this country that we don't have any data that you can even use to check if somebody has been, is it this country that people can go under the radar? Which parole officer wants to be following up with who?
And then in a society where, like,
in a country where people are even scared of coming out of prison because they don't have anything to fall back on. This guy is, I think supposedly still running a successful business. We're not looking into the fact that he still has these properties he's mentioning.
I said new trucks. Maybe when did the new?
Let's not say he's running business. So he just says that he has 14 new trucks that he's willing to forfeit to the government. And then they said that he had houses. And I wondered when we were talking about this, in terms of these kind of bills or legislations, there's often forfeiture clauses. So I'm curious, and I tried to see, has he forfeited any property previously to the state government that is going to be used for compensation for his victims? Or is that part of a conversation that is a separate one from this trial? Because I'm so sorry. Yes, everybody's allowed to approach the law and approach the court, but there's a certain amount of audacity that you have, temerity. That's not just audacity, temerity that you need to have to be 3 years into a jail sentence and saying that you want a plea bargain.
This is the one that just moved into a new house. Imagine if Evans is your landlord. Because that's properties.
So imagine seeing him. He just has the kind of look that he can walk past you every day and he'll be polite and greet you every day.
Afternoon.
I know how we are as Nigerians. We say, I don't know.
He's so quiet.
He's such a good man. Such a good man, respectful and all of that. But I've been mulling over the fact that perhaps there's a bigger picture we're not seeing. Something more sinister, something more obscure. That maybe truly, should we be surprised if we hear that he's walking free? Because whether we like it or not, our law, our legal system is a joke. We all know. It's a joke. We're always pushing back the fight to get justice legally here. I think it's so overwhelming that most people don't like to walk that route. Because
they just want to avoid it at any
rate. It's like you're pushing against the wave. So, frankly speaking, I'm going to say it now, I will not be surprised if Evans will be set free one day and we say, he's free, and then there's a reason, one lackadaisical reason.
I'm even wondering, why is he asking
maybe he has a terminal illness or something. We have noticed, he's, according to doctors, we've had him examined and whatever that.
Yeah, they should take care of him there.
I'm even wondering why he's asking for a plea bargain. Somebody that has not even served half his sentence.
The man is used to negotiate. You don't understand. Wow! Tolu said temerity. Tolu said
that is so true. He's a kidnapper. So he's used to negotiating.
That's why he's saying, let me give them
That's what he does for a living.
Yeah.
So you're teaching people economics, and you know, see, the breeze blew him to teach econs.
Well, let me even tell you, he's currently in his second year, now studying political science, right? His admission letter and student ID were also presented to the court as part of the application. Evan has said he also underwent training in welding and metal fabrication through the Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity, successfully passing all relevant tests. When the case was fixed for trial, which came up this past Thursday, the prosecuting counsel told the justice that the defendants had expressed interest in pursuing plea bargain agreements with the state government. So right now, the state government does have the application from his counsel. He says he's learned welding and metal fabrication.
So
he's in his
welding, they should just release him because he'll be out soon.
Imagine the skills, no, but the skills he's acquiring are skills that are still very useful.
Welding.
So that the kind of cages and things he can build to keep his victims in.
Just let him go.
And he has learned the economy to know how to bargain a little more internationally.
Welding and metal fabrication.
The cages
It's a lumberjacky. I mean, forget
They will
this.
do a lot of handcuffs.
That's what I'm saying.
Tie people down.
That's what I'm saying.
I heard that he got all A's in one
Yes, he
exam.
got all A's.
He's a
Just
brilliant
let
man.
him go.
Hey, but the thing is, you will know that this is a mastermind, a man that he might be using his brain for criminal activities. He doesn't still negate the fact that he's a very brilliant man. Because that means if
be
he puts
careful
all
when
this
you say
into...
that, because before you know, they'll say they will reintegrate him into the police force because of his
It's just
brilliance.
like telling me that you put,
It's true.
that you put a serial killer back into the system.
We said it. Just remember we said it here.
Honestly, he's a very brilliant person. That's prospect right there.
I've heard of cases where they released a person that was on death row, that they proved the case and everything, and he went out of jail. The same day he was removed from jail, he went and killed the person that put him in prison, the person that testified against him. And he just sat at the...
Waiting for the police to come and pick him up.
Anything.
Because he knew he was going back.
that was
He
just
just
his
came
only
out to do
assignment.
that, and he's going back, and he's not arguing with
Our
that.
guest is on standby now.
Yeah.
And we're talking money matters. Because this one, I don't know where it's going to end. But a lot of people are interested in what happens after the court reconvenes in April, and we'll be following the case. But until that time, please, let's talk about money. Did you know that in December, Shomolu local government received 1.7 billion naira? Surulere got 1.7 billion naira as well. And Koshofe, sorry, I'm failing my Yoruba exam. Koshofe local government got 1.9 billion naira. Citizens, are you asking where your money is? When the conversation continues, we pick it up. The mothers with children in university and secondary school are calculating things. Ladies, it's all right. It's okay. But unfortunately, we won't be able to have our guest this morning because of some technical matters. But we will quickly highlight the conversation we want to have with you and then also move on to one other big major story, major national story that is. But we wanted to look at local government funding. And of course, the conversation is around now that the money is going straight to local government, how do we ensure accountability? How do citizens get involved and ensure that in the long run, they don't have the same complaints as before? For many years, Nigerians have complained about the lack of development at the grassroots level. But now with local governments receiving their allocations directly, the big question is, will anything really change? With more money in their hands, local government officials now have fewer excuses, but citizens also have a bigger role to play. How do we ensure that these funds are used for roads, schools, healthcare, and real community development rather than disappearing into private pockets? Who's also going to hold local governments accountable? It's time, as we say, to shift our focus from Abuja to our very own backyards. Now, just before the break, I told you how much some of the local governments here in Lagos collected. Shomolu, 1.7 billion, Surulere, 1.7 billion, Koshofe, 1.9 billion naira in December 2024. Now, there are some issues. Unfortunately, not all of the local governments seemingly have accounts. The CBN and EFCC are even threatening governors as well. So EFCC chairman has said that he has reminded local government chairmen that they don't have immunity. That is only the governor and his deputy that currently have immunity, that these monies will be scrutinized, and that if anything is going wrong with the monies that are going into local government accounts, they don't have to wait for anybody to finish their tenure before EFCC comes down on them. The National Union of Local Government Employees is also fighting now, and we're also hearing that there have been delays. The government has apologized. I think we have some of those headlines for not being able to get money to everybody. But once the dust settles, based on the Supreme Court judgment, local governments are meant to receive their money directly. Blessings.
Okay, so in May 2024, the Attorney General of the Federation filed a lawsuit against all 36 state governors at the Supreme Court seeking to enforce full autonomy for local government. Now, the federal government argued that state governors' excessive control over LGAs hindered efficient governance at the local level. On the 11th of July 2024, the Supreme Court delivered a landmark judgment affirming the financial autonomy of Nigeria's 774 local governments. The court declared that funds allocated to local governments for the Federation account must be paid directly to their accounts, bypassing state government. Additionally, the court barred governors from dissolving democratically elected local government councils and replacing them with caretaker committees.
Anyway, now that even with the ruling in place, we've heard reports that some state governments are still intercepting these allocations, leading to confusion and delays in funds disbursement. The federal government has acknowledged operational issues hindering the immediate execution of the court's order, highlighting the need for systemic adjustment to fully actualize financial autonomy for local councils.
You know, when you look at all of this, I have two very, very big questions. One, even if the money is going directly to the local government, knowing our political system, it's like saying I win something, then I go and offer it to you. How do we guarantee that the local government chairmans will become powers unto themselves and they will not still feel politically tied to go to the government and say, oh God, see, the money is in the account. No, it's not killer mafiche. What do you want us to do with it? Because it's one thing to say that they have the power to have the money, but it's one thing to also unbuckle or unshackle the democratic political system that makes people so beholden to certain people at certain levels.
I know that this local government struggle has been for a long time.
Very long time.
And any smart thinking government should know that, okay, we're in court fighting this. This has been on for years. It's not last year, it's been on for a couple of years. Should the local government not be redoing and revamping their house? That when this judgment pulls through,
they're ready.
They are ready. And they had time. You know, when you are struggling for something, those are the time that you lay the groundwork, you lay the ground rules, you set things in motion. Because it's not like they were not functional at all, even in all those times that they were in court. They just wanted autonomy, that money must come directly to us. But they were still getting the allocation the way they used to get it. So it wasn't like they were functioning on zero allocation. So why are they not ready? And those are the things that will make me begin to question that when this money actually does hit the account, are we going to get what it needs to be? Are they going to use it for what needs to be done? Have you gone to many local government areas?
Wait on that. I want Catherine to speak, then we have some slides that what do local governments, what are they responsible for?
Exactly. All right, so the local government system in Nigeria was established to bring governance closer to the people, to ensure that essential services such as education, healthcare, infrastructure, and public welfare are adequately provided at the grassroots level. Like Lola says, for decades, funding for local governments has been a contentious issue. It's been marred often by inefficiencies, by corruption, by interference from state governments. So these are the issues. When Lola was talking, my question was that, how do we even know that the local governments have the capacity to come up with plans for this disbursement and spending of money judiciously? We've just mentioned.
Why are they fighting for the money and autonomy?
They will fight for.
But wait, if they do not know
who is fighting? Who is fighting? Because if you look at it, remember it's the Attorney General of the Federation who took the 36 state governors to court. In fact, some LG chairman, they won't necessarily come out to say it. They've told their guys it's not me. So who is fighting? But I want us to go back to the slides you just saw and look at really what local governments in Nigeria are responsible for. And I think it's really quite important now that local governments are expected to be receiving all of their money directly. So local governments in Nigeria are supposed to be sorting economic and infrastructure development. That means construction, maintenance of roads, provision, maintenance of markets, regulation of small businesses.
They're responsible. Talk about this small Tolu. Don't run through it. Don't run. Maintenance of roads, street light, drains and parks. If we stay on that alone, do you know how many local governments that the streets are so bad? Look at some local government, they are becoming another landfill where people throw dustbins.
And the rains are coming.
The rains are coming. There are many interior roads that you are wondering that,
do they not have
representation? That means all these roads that they say, okay, at least we know that federal roads, we know what federal roads are. There are many interior roads that connect within streets that they can get to walk on. Have you seen how dark Lagos is at night?
That you're talking about.
But that means they can set up street lights, even if they cannot do the one that is federal standard. Do you know there are LED lights that we even use within my own estate? That is like motion sensor. Just to make people see, have access to road.
But what they were telling us is because they were not getting their money, that's why the government had taken over. See, what I'm seeing at the end of this day, and that's why I like that that breakdown of the constitutional role of local governments, is you have no hiding place.
Yes.
Again, you have no excuse again, you have no justification. You're going to sit down, you're going to have your local, I don't know what titles they give them within the local government, responsible for these things, and then people are going to divert attention. One of the greatest things that politicians in Nigeria did successfully was making sure that all our attention went to Abuja, went to the center, went to even state governors. Oftentimes you hear certain things about, oh, my hands are tied, it has to be federal. With this, we're going back down to the local government. All that one that you like to campaign on and say we're the closest people to the we're the grassroots, we're the closest people to the grassroots. You will now use your mouth to put it behind where that money is.
And all of us are in different local governments. So that means that we can talk from our local government areas. Bagada, there's Yanokada, there's Aja, there's
competition in the sense
so that we can hold. Do you know before there are many local government chairmen that you don't even know their names?
No, I'm saying that, you see now, with this new era, me, I'm happy because with newness comes, there's always things to anticipate.
These people, they will not sleep again.
Yeah, exactly.
They will not sleep again.
It's like hearing that there's hot gist and you go and bring your toothpick and chewing stick and say, okay, let's permutate, let's bet who is on. So I'm thinking.
When you permutate about how they are going to spend it, I know that the real gist is how the juggernaut is going to share the money.
Imagine if there's a competition. The best local government, maybe it will be like
the best local government in Lagos that saw the most improvement.
It can ginger them. No, at all.
Big bummer.
They will now be forced to do something.
Yes.
To produce something for the local government.
At least if it's street lights, let's know that.
Okay, Koshofe is known for street lights. Agege is known for roads.
Agege is known for roads.
The best local government
they should also know that it's not just by establishing these things, it's also maintaining them.
Let's go back to the slide.
Let's go back to the slide. Let's
go back to the slide. On number 2, you have public health and sanitation, establishment and maintenance of health centers, dispensaries, and maternity homes, control of public health hazards, including waste disposal and sanitation, licensing and regulation of restaurants, bakeries, and food markets. Local government chairmen and women will not be sleeping again.
I don't want to be employed in a local government.
Let's look at the next one. We also have number 3. They're also constitutionally responsible for education and social welfare. That's management of primary schools in collaboration with state governments, implementation of adult and vocational education programs, social welfare programs for orphans, the elderly, and people with disabilities. Where? Have you seen that? Number 4, security and community development. Establishment of local security structures, example, vigilante groups to support law enforcement, maintenance of cemeteries, public recreation centers and open spaces, promotion of arts, culture, and traditional... these people are...
Where is recreational centers?
Number 5, revenue generation and financial management, collection of taxes, rates, and levies.
Too much now.
Licensing of bicycles, canoes, wheelbarrows, and carts.
Wheelbarrows need licensing.
Yes, regulation of liquor sales, betting, and gambling operations.
This is it.
They're also charge of agriculture and environmental protection, that's development of agricultural and irrigation programs, control of pests and diseases affecting crops and livestock, management of forest, fisheries, and grazing lands, and I think one more. They also are in charge of general administrative functions, naming and numbering of streets and houses, registration of births, deaths, and marriages, and coordination of local elections and community engagement. I think that some people watching this morning did not know how much responsibility local governments have on
Do you
their
know,
head.
I almost said that we should get their emails and send our slides to them.
So they can know what
Just
they're
in
supposed to
case
be
they
doing.
forgot what they are. See these things that we've put up. Honestly, if any local government chairman that wants to leave his feet in the sands of time, do you know that all you have to just take is just 4? You might even take maybe 2 out of these slides and focus on them. Just know that in Kochofe local government, education of the youth, education of the people within your local government is priority. Healthcare, priority. Let's stand for something that everybody would say, if you want to come back for re-election, it will be a done deal because your local government
is it legacy you want to use?
Do you understand? That's one person you're talking about, local government chairman. The people that surround him may not be in congruence with that thought. People see money, you are breathing and you are panting.
So you don't want us to chop now that it has come to our table?
So they're just, that number, that figure is ringing.
1.7 billion.
How do you say? What do you say in Yoruba? Kilowi? Kilowi? 1.7? Is that what I'm hearing? In your head, you're already planning the money.
The party.
You are planning
the vacations.
So you now, even when local government wants to say, chairman, I wish I could.
I need láti fi confidence síbẹ̀. Ibẹ̀ ó yìí wà okay. Tá bá bu yẹ̀pẹ̀ sí, á yìí ṣe àwọn èèyàn yìí lè lò 2 years ló kù.
I wish, I think that if they knew everything involved, because like she said, if they feel like it's just few responsibilities, they will think they can wing it. But if they knew everything involved, they'll think twice.
And I think at the end of the day, it's also for the people to know everything involved, so we know what our expectations are. We know where to redirect our attention, our anger, our call to action, redirect it to the local government level. They're the closest
will we
to
be
us.
able to have a hand in that?
So that is
why, what are you saying?
We have a lot of questions, and I guess we'll come back. But we need to take a break. I think today we've done a public service so far. There's more public service coming up. Stick around. The ladies are not ready to leave this local government matter, but we do have another very important national conversation we want to touch on before we wrap things up, and that's because we've been carrying the stories for a while every single time NAFDAC does a raid, but this past weekend, the country heard from the NAFDAC Director General. Now, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control continues to intensify its crackdown on counterfeit and unregistered medicines across major markets in Nigeria. The NAFDAC Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, has responded to criticism that the agency's operations are disrupting businesses. Really?
Are you kidding me?
She has stated that their mission is to protect lives and safeguard the future of Nigerians. I think it's best that we hear from her.
So we are not disturbing trade, we are protecting lives. We couldn't have done it ourselves without NSA. It is security risk for our country. What BBC showed will break your heart. Young men that have been rendered useless. So what NAFDAC is doing is what NAFDAC is supposed to do. Safeguarding. There is no politics in what we are doing. No politics in what we are doing. Most of the shops are not registered by PCN. PCN registers sites and the people working at the sites. So the rules have been broken right from the beginning. And to see many of these products being in our own, okay, this is another one. Tramadol, 225. This will fry the brain of anybody. This will destroy the future of our country, our youth, our future.
So quickly, she spoke about not politicizing the situation, and I think that is almost a direct response to former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi, who condemned the closure of the entire head bridge market in Onitsha by regulatory and security agencies due to suspected trading in illegal drugs. He said that while noting that only traders in one section of the market were involved in the trading of illegal drugs, that then why was the whole or this part of the market shut down? So I'd also like to take what she said or in response, saying that basically they also found these guys, they found drugs inside the plumbing. They found prohibited drugs hidden inside plumbing material shops at the Onitsha Bridgehead Drug Market. NAFDAC officials also seized 2 trailer loads of unregistered narcotics, banned tramadol, and counterfeit drugs concealed within the shops. And we also saw the Anambra State Governor, Professor Charles Soludo, also take a tour of the market this week, and he says he's throwing his weight behind NAFDAC and that he's also going to address the issue at source. So I think that if we're seeing drugs hidden inside plumbing, that means the drugs could be anywhere, all over the market. There's a reason for it. And they say they're going to do a cleaning operation, and once they're satisfied, they will reopen.
I think we've become as desperate as during the times of notorious drugsters like El Chapo, like the other guy, Pablo Escobar, where we are just hiding in places that you wouldn't think of seeing. That they are the desperation to bring in these illegal drugs is what shocks this, the bedevils me.
I am even wondering
how can you put it in plumbing materials? I'm so humbled by that alone.
Why?
So,
They shut 11,000 shops since they started
11,000 shops since this raid
Lagos,
started.
Aba,
Just like
Onitsha,
the last time that who was
across
here
the country.
that told us that we should not look at it in the revenue lost. We should look at
Dr.
it in
Benjamin.
Dr.
Lives
Benjamin.
lost.
That we should look at it in the lives lost. Look at all these illicit. Did you see expired drugs?
Yeah.
There are many people that I know, I myself inclusive, that take routine drugs that you cannot identify whether it is
Fake, expired.
expired, and many of them are
Because, like, for example, the analgesics that one would take. You don't know whether they took out the, from the expired one and put it in a new box.
Exactly.
I even hear that sometimes they will layer the original like 2 up, then the rest in it are fake. A friend of mine lost her child in a Nugu teaching hospital because of fake drugs. The child had open heart surgery and they went to buy drugs from the pharmacy of the hospital. This is many years ago. And the child died from it.
You know,
even hospitals cannot begin to test
to be sure. You know when you said you had malaria?
Yes.
I was so, in the back of my head, I didn't want to tell her, but I was really, really concerned because we've been taking all these stories from NAFDAC. And when she said she had malaria and she had to go and get drugs, I was like, God, I hope she gets... Because right now, you cannot afford to fall sick.
Yes.
Because even the hospitals you trust are falling prey. I don't know if it's whether it's a racket that's happening or really they are falling prey. You can't even trust. Or they send you to pharmacies. It's right now even very high-end pharmacies that are probably to a certain point bringing in. No, to a certain point.
Except they are the ones bringing in.
But how many Nigerians can
How many
afford
Nigerians are
it?
bringing in drugs?
People are still going to chemists.
Yes. How many? Honestly, when I think they said their reactions, can we still take?
Let's quickly take reactions before the time runs
I
out.
want to come back to this story.
Why do we always play catch up in this country? Why are you just closing down shops? The drugs suddenly appear in those shops. Some people in the chain of delivery from the donor down to the final consumer decided to play smart and make extra money by selling donated drugs, referencing USAID drugs also found in some of these places. Get and prosecute those ones, and donated drugs will not be seen in the market no more. So what I'm thinking is the NGOs take the drugs, sell it to the local shops at cheaper price. The local shops sell at a normal price. The NGOs report to USAID back that they have saved 1 million lives in Nigeria. The whole Nigerians will be like, where are these people receiving all these drugs now?
It's possible.
Do we have any other
kudos on this USAID?
Yes, kudos to the Director General of NAFDAC and her team, but this looks like an endless war with attendant financial and material burden of the government. If you ask me, it's time the agency introduced capital punishment for illicit drug trade from end to end. NAFDAC must continue the good work. Every sensible Nigerian is behind you. Because of time, Catherine, I saw your reaction to capital punishment.
That's it.
Yeah, honestly, that's addressing
they're
them from the root.
QED.
They're murderers.
The show is over.
Honestly, they are
QED.
murderers.
That's addressing it from, because today is plumbing sites. Tomorrow you'll be seeing it in kitchens, you'll be seeing it in
cosmetic stores, you'll see it
Is
everywhere.
tramadol not
Because
a
of the
drug that
desperation.
is banned? How can we? And have you seen the amount of youths who are losing their minds from the use
They're
of these
walking in a
illicit
daze
drugs.
when you see them. They're walking in a daze. They just stand and stare and they're blank.
We cannot even
That is
continue this
dangerous.
conversation on this.
We've
We
reached
will
out
bring
to
it
NAFDAC
back.
and we hope to have a representative of NAFDAC joining us on Just Today sometime soon to take us through these through these actions of NAFDAC. But you cannot choose trade over the lives of Nigerians.
No.
No way. And it's been time coming.
Yeah.
If we're unhappy with what NAFDAC was doing before, people are solidly behind NAFDAC at this point in time.
And a woman is at the helm of affairs again.
This is how we wrap up. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.